Hi boys, welcome back. So our next lesson is lesson 9.4, which is still about solving quadratic equations, but you are going to learn the best method ever, which is called the quadratic formula. And it's a formula that works every single time. It just requires you to do some work, but it does give you the correct answer every single time. So let's get started. So by completing the square of the quadratic equation, there as you can see it, you develop this formula that gives you the solutions of any quadratic equation in standard form. And obviously, it is called the quadratic formula. And you will see something very familiar about the quadratic formula, and I will talk more about that in another lesson in the future. But for now, you just need to have the formula memorized, but certainly you can, refer to it in your notes when you do your homework. So here is what it is. It is x equals negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac, all divided by 2a. So as you can see, you have your a, b, and your c, and all you would do is just plug in a, b, and c into the formula. And then you would just, solve it and get x equals, okay? And you're going to get your two answers because of the plus or minus, okay? So this is what you need to, like I said, memorize, but you certainly don't have to because you can use your notes, okay? Very easy. All right, so let's do a few examples. We'll start with the easy ones. So first thing is you need to make sure that you have it in standard form. And then we're going to write down our A, B, and C because you're going to use all three of them, whereas before you didn't always use the C. And then you're going to be getting your two answers because your exponent is 2, like I've been telling you since day 1 of this chapter. And then what's also good to do is just write down the formula, but then once you get the hang of it, you won't have to keep writing it down. So let's go ahead and get started. So negative b, well, since b is already negative, then this just becomes 6 plus or minus. Then we're going to do negative 6 squared minus 4 times 1 times 5, all divided by 2 times 1. So what you need to pay attention to is you are going to multiply these numbers, okay? That's the number one mistake is kids, they forget to multiply, okay? So if you look, so we'll simplify this a little bit. So you get 6 plus or minus, so then you're going to get 36 minus. So now you're going to do these numbers together. So it's 4 times 1 times 5, which is 20. And then we're going to divide that by 2. Okay, so notice we're doing this step by step. So then we're going to get x equals 6 plus or minus. Then we do 36 minus 20, which is 16, all divided by 2. Okay, so we're still not done yet, but I'm going to switch the slides. Same problem, but I'm just going to show you how we would break this apart. Okay, so obviously you know the square root of 16 is 4. So you get 6 plus or minus 4, all divided by 2. Now, you have your two answers embedded inside of that fraction. So you need to break apart the plus or minus to get your two answers. Okay, so here is how you would do it. So you get x equals, we're going to do the plus one. So 6 plus 4 divide by 2. Then we'll do x equals 6 minus 4 divide by 2. So if we do this, you're going to get what? 10 divided by 2, which is x equals 5. And this one is what? 2 divided by 2, which is x equals 1. Now, just to fair warn you, you may get fractions, okay? So you're not always going to get whole numbers, but you will not give me any decimal answers, all right? So that's pretty much it. So you're always going to pretty much get your your two answers, okay? All right, so let's do another one. So again, make sure it's in standard form, which it is. So there's your A, your B, and your C. So let's go ahead and write down our formula, and let's start filling in your numbers. So we got x equals, so again, B is negative already, so it's just going to be a positive, plus or minus. And we plug in B, so negative 5 minus 4 times 2 times 3, all divided by 2 times 2. So again, we're going to simplify what's underneath the radical, so we get 5 plus or minus 25 minus, so now I'm going to take these numbers and multiply, and I get what? Is that 8 times 3, which is a 24, all divided by 4. Okay, again, I'm going to keep simplifying. So I get x equals 5 plus or minus 25 minus 24 is 1, all divided by 4. Okay, so now I'm going to switch slides and recopy our almost answer. Okay, so this is what you just had. So now you actually know the square root of 1 is simply 1. And now we need to break apart. So it's come down here, and we're going to use the positive. So we're going to get 5 plus 1 divided by 4, and then 5 minus 1 divided by 4. So again, follow PEMDAS. So 5 plus 1 is 6 divided by 4. You need to reduce, and you will get 3 halves. This one is what? 4 over 4, which is just 1. Okay, and please make sure you have x equals because you are solving these equations. All right, so let's do another easy one. Okay, again, we need to make sure that these are in standard form, which they are. So there's your A, B, and C. There's our formula. So let's go ahead and fill them in. So again, B is negative already, so it'll be a positive. So fill in your inside. And 2 times 6. Okay, so hopefully you're going to get, the hang of this. Equals, so we still have our 13. So negative 13 squared is 169 minus, take these three numbers and we're going to multiply them, and you get 144. And then we're going to divide all of this by 12. So we're going to keep going. So 13 plus or minus. Now 169 minus 44 is 25. All divided by 12. Okay. So let me just keep going with this. Then we're going to get 5. That's the square root of 25 over 12. Okay, so now let me switch slides, excuse me. And this is what we had. Okay, so then from here, we're going to break apart. Okay, so you're going to get 13 plus 5 divided by 12. And then 13 minus 5 divided by 12. So let's see here. Looks like we're going to get some fractions. So we get 18 divided by 12. We need to reduce, and we're going to reduce that by 6. And we're going to get 3 halves. We do this one, you get 8 over 12. So we need to reduce this one by 4, and we get 2/3. Okay? So those were of the easy level. Okay? Now, I'm going to show you how you would get no answer. Okay? So you could, most of the time you do get your 2 answers. Sometimes you do get 1, and then the other times you would get no answer. Okay? So let's do this one. So this one, obviously, if you look at it, is not in standard form. Okay? So I'm going to make it in standard form. So let's move this over and this over. So x squared minus x plus 8 equals 0. And that's where, obviously, those came from. Were from my standard form equation. There's my formula. So let's go ahead and plug these in. So x equals, it's going to be positive 1 plus or minus. Then we're going to do the inside. Okay. So far so good. So let's simplify the inside. So it's going to be a 1. And then we're going to do these 3. It's going to be minus. Then we're going to multiply. You get what? Negative 32. And then all divided by 2. So keep simplifying. So 1 plus or minus the square root of negative 31 divided by 2. Now, think about this. You cannot take the square root of a negative number. So, can't do square root. So, since you can't do it, the answer that you're going to write for me is no real solution. Okay, so these answers would be imaginary. Okay, they wouldn't be decimals or anything. They would be imaginary. All right, so very easy. So if you get a negative underneath the square root, you know automatically you're not going to get an answer. All right, let me show you one more like this. All right, so this one obviously needs to be in standard form. And I can show you how I got that. Is the 4 would be moved over, so your new equation would be negative 3x squared plus 6x minus 4. So that's where the negative 4 came from after I moved it over. So let's fill in our numbers. So now it's technically a negative 6 plus or minus. So 6 squared minus 4 times negative 3 times negative 4. All divided by 2 times negative 3. All right, so it's going to get a little bit ugly. So negative 6 plus or minus 36. Now be very careful here. I want you to take the negative along with it. And we're going to multiply these. So you're going to end up getting a negative 48 because these two negatives make positive, but then that negative will make that negative. So then divided by, I think that's a negative 6 on the bottom. So x equals, let's clean this up. So if we do the inside, 36 minus 48 is a negative 12 divided by negative 6. Now, obviously, can't do square root because of the negative. So your word answer would be no real solution. Okay? So far, this should have seemed easy. You will get the hang of it once you do a few examples. So I'm going to stop this video and continue with some medium type level problems. So you'll have to watch 2 videos for this lesson. All right, so to be continued.